Manuya.
Manuya. Cheers. Hey, what's up, everybody? Tip and Tara here, coming to you from the beautiful French Polynesia. We are on the main island of Tahiti at the moment.
Yep, we are on our last day here. We fly home late tonight, so we are very sad. It's been a wonderful 10-day adventure here in French Polynesia. We visited 4 islands and loved every minute of it. So today we want to talk about things to know before you visit French Polynesia. So I do a lot of research before our trips, so I usually feel pretty prepared. This time was no different. There were some things that I had already known, but we have some things. We have 10 things actually that we think would be helpful for you if you're planning a trip to French Polynesia. So number 1, cash is obviously preferred most places. So make sure you have cash, and you want to have francs. That's what they use here. It is a French country, so you can exchange your cash or get cash out at the airport when you get into Tahiti. That's what we did. Has one of the best exchange rates, and that's easy. Most places will take credit card, but it has to be above a certain amount. So usually we found it to be about like 2,000 or 2,500 francs, which is like 20 US dollars ish. But Amex is not usually accepted in most places here. So that was one thing that I didn't know ahead of time, was the Amex. And so just be aware on that. Have some cash, have a card if you want, like grocery stores and all that is a great place to use your credit card. Otherwise, like if you're going to a local place or food carts or that kind of stuff, they want cash.
Brought some cash and we exchanged it at the airport, and they only allow $1,000 at the airport per person, so per passport. So just take that into mind. They do have ATMs and banks, so you can pull out money if you want to, but we like to try to exchange and cash to avoid fees and all that type of stuff. So just think about that before you come.
Yeah, and at Tahiti Airport, they know when all the international flights are coming in, so they usually have the currency exchange guy. There's a guy when we were there.
Yeah.
They are waiting for you when you're getting off the plane. So even though we got in pretty late at night, we got in at like 9:30 or 10. And they were still open because they knew we were coming in. So that's always a good option, just to kind of exchange, get some money right away, which we needed for like the taxi and the transfer right away. So that was perfect.
The next thing you need to know is breakfast isn't included in a lot of places.
Yeah. So in America, like that's a pretty typical thing. Like breakfast is part of like a hotel stay, but here you generally have to pay extra. And it's a French country, again, like I talked about, so it's different than what we're used to in America, for breakfast at least. So for us, we either paid extra, like at Lina Riva, we just paid extra for them to like cook that fabulous breakfast, which was amazing, or we just got like some groceries and did our own little thing. So just know that like if you're coming here and expecting like breakfast to already be paid for, it's usually not. Even at the nicer hotels, we're at the Hilton right now, that's an extra fee, all of that. So know that when you're looking at your budget and like planning out how much you're going to spend or how much the hotel is, most likely breakfast is going to be an additional cost.
Yeah, what our go-to, generally most places, but especially here, is just getting some just kind of like lunch meat, like chorizos and pepperoni, that type of stuff, and then baguettes. There's baguettes everywhere, and then literally like that's generally kind of what our breakfasts have been if we haven't purchased any. So delicious.
Number 3, most grocery stores close fairly early here. So when we were on Maoria, the one by us, by the Lina Riva resort, closed at 6:30.
Yeah.
Which we were pretty shocked about. The one in Tahiti, we're right in the main, like Papeete by the airport, it closes at 8. So know that when you want to go to the store, I know in like the US most stores are open late, or you can like find something that's open to get some food or water or something. But here, plan that out ahead of time. Like, know that you're not going to be able to like just run to the store after an excursion is done, and they might not be open.
Yeah, this is especially important if you are, because we got a guest house when we first got into Tahiti, and she had some water provided for us, but we generally like, to get bottled water and just have fresh water and whatnot. And so if you're going to a hotel, you probably won't run into that issue, but that was something that we always try to make sure that we have water, at least 1.5 liters or something, to make sure that we have for until we can get to a store.
Yeah, I mean, if she didn't have water for us, we wouldn't have had any water.
Yeah.
I mean, because we came straight from the airport, and you don't have a lot of options.
Yeah, and the tap water isn't safe at all areas of the island, so you got to find that out.
Yeah, we've had mixed reviews on if you can drink it or not, so we just go with the bottled water.
Yeah. So the next thing, number 4, is most restaurants also close early. So that's one thing too. From us coming from America, we're used to restaurants closing at 10 or 11. A lot of these are closing or only open from like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for dinner.
Yeah. And a lot of them, they do like the lunch, they're open from 11 to 2, and then they close for a couple hours, and then they're open again from 6 to 9. So, it's an awkward time for us as Americans, where you just can't get something to eat at like 4 o'clock. So there was a time that we traveled to Bora Bora, and our plane got in like, 1:30. So by the time we got to our hotel and went out, like, things were closed. Yeah. So again, like, we always bring a little bit of like snack food for that, but if you are traveling especially and you don't have time to like stock up on things, then you have that weird window where you're having to wait. So plan that out. Bring some snack food also, but plan that out and know like, okay, you're not going to be able to like go out late for dinner, and just realize the times are different than America. Normally they're open from like all day or through the night or whatnot, and it's just they have certain hours, and certain restaurants only open for lunch, certain are open for lunch and dinner, whatever it is. So. And that could be a little bit different. Like, we're now back on Tahiti, which is like bigger island, busier island. Our flight is tonight at like 9:30, so we won't be out late enough to kind of see how late restaurants are open, but I'm assuming it's a little bit different here in Tahiti, but on the islands, a lot of them just close at 9. Okay, number 5. Depending on what island you're visiting, we realize that a lot of restaurants will pick you up and drop you off if you don't have a car. So on Moorea, we did this because it's a great option. It was actually rainy one day, and we didn't really want to drive, so they just picked us up, took us to the restaurant, and then brought us back home. So that is an option at some places. I know not everywhere does it, and it also probably depends on how far away you are from that restaurant. So depending on where you stay and what island, like, look into some of that and see if that's an option if you don't want to rent a car. Because we had a car, but we ended up not using it as much just because the weather was not as good in Moorea. But that's a good option if you definitely don't want to rent a car.
All right, so number 6, Wi-Fi isn't the best at a lot of places. Currently we are, just at the Hilton by the airport. This is the best Wi-Fi that we've had. Probably because it is the Hilton, but a lot of places the Wi-Fi is shoddy. And so just be prepared for that. I mean, sometimes you might get good Wi-Fi. One thing we noticed was at one of the places we're just staying on, Huahine, was that, if we had just 2 of our devices on the Wi-Fi at one time, that's when it worked the fastest.
The best, yeah.
But if we had like more than 2 on, it was super slow. So just realize, like, on certain islands or certain places, depending on where you are, they don't pay for, or they don't have the fastest Wi-Fi. So that's something that can be frustrating if you expect good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and a lot of restaurants don't have it where you can use it. So like if you're going out to eat and you think that you're going to be able to use the Wi-Fi, like I don't think we ran into one place that we were able to use their Wi-Fi, just because they only really have it to like run their cash register and their iPads and stuff, and so the more people that are on it obviously slows it down. So don't expect that either.
We have Verizon cell phone service, and then they have their Travel Pass, which they just started this new thing. I didn't know until we got down here, but each month you actually get a free Travel Pass day, and it banks up for an entire year. So we had 7 free Wi-Fi days where they didn't charge us, or 7 free internet days where they didn't charge us. The only thing is it's not unlimited. You only get half of a gig per day. So you can run through that pretty quickly if you're on social media like us, posting stories, that type of stuff. But in general, for Verizon, it's $10 per day that you want to use the internet or your cell phone service and whatever. And if you use that limit, then you can pay 10 more bucks for the day, but it's up to you. It can get expensive, but luckily for us, we had those days banked up, and we've only had to pay for a couple days of the internet.
Yeah, and if Wi-Fi is a big deal for you, there is a thing called Tahiti Wi-Fi, so you can rent a little portable Wi-Fi box you could take everywhere with you. And we didn't do it, but I looked into it a little bit, and it's about $8 to $20 per day, based on how many gigs you're going to use. So obviously, the more gigs you're going to use, the more expensive it is. But if that's something that you need to be using reliable Wi-Fi and that kind of stuff, then that's something that you might want to look into. Okay, number 7. We recommend bringing water shoes, which we bring with us everywhere we go. We'll drop a link below on the ones that we have, but there's lots of rock and coral basically at any beach that you're walking into. So once you get away from like the first, couple feet of the beach entry, it's usually fine, although there can be some coral out there, but there is quite a bit of rock just right when you walk in. So we also recommended like wearing it if you are staying at an overwater bungalow. There's usually a lot of coral on the bottom because it's pretty shallow and there's lots of fish right there. So we just always recommend to bring them when you're going somewhere. It makes it easy to just get in and out of the water without having any issues.
Unless you have very strong feet like the locals here.
Yes.
We're wearing our water shoes just because, I actually stepped on a coral and bled a little bit, but we got it cleaned up. But literally all the locals that were kind of, hanging out in our area, they're all just jumping and running and jumping on the rocks and whatever, and they're completely fine walking barefoot. But they're used to that. Their feet have gotten used to that. But
yeah.
made me feel kind of like a little wimp with the water shoes. But we have sensitive feet as Americans, I guess. All right. So number 8 is be aware of traveling to different islands on Sunday or a French holiday. This is a big one that when we travel, especially like to here or like even the Cook Islands, is Sundays is a big day for them to rest and be with their families and stuff like that. So a lot of places are closed. Mm-hmm. Hard to get taxis, that type of stuff.
Yes, Sunday was the day that we took the ferry from Moorea back to Tahiti, and then we had a flight from Tahiti to Bora Bora. And I also didn't realize this, but there just wasn't a lot of taxis at the ferry terminal, so we actually had to wait a while, and then we ended up calling somebody to get us a taxi. And the guy was telling us, it's Sunday, so a lot of people are just with their family. So keep that in mind if you are traveling between islands or taking the ferry that day. Like, make sure you set up a transfer or a taxi ahead of time. And then when we got to Bora Bora, we also realized that a lot of places were still closed for that same reason. And then yesterday, November 11th, which is Veterans Day for us, is also a French holiday. And so we arrived to Tahiti in the afternoon, and we went to the store, and they don't sell alcohol
past 12
on a French holiday. So And I'm sure, same thing, a lot of restaurants and places are closed too. Luckily, the grocery store was open, but there are some restrictions, obviously, on that. So just know, be aware of the French holidays, Tahitian holidays too, I'm sure, but also just Sunday in general is not a lot of options for places. So.
And one thing to add to that is they have like a break coming up soon, right? Like Tahitians or something. I think they have like a 2-week holiday break coming up.
I know they just had one.
Oh, they just had one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The schools were on a 2-week break, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some more holidays coming up too.
So just, we'll try to book around and just understand that Sundays and holidays are something you want to try to avoid a travel day on if you're looking to, explore the town or see, because otherwise there's not really too much to do.
Yeah, or get food or something,
Yep.
Okay, number 9, unless you're staying at a big hotel, most Airbnb, guest houses, pensions, which is popular here in French Polynesia, that's like a guest house, they don't have extra towels for like swimming or the beach. So we would recommend bringing one. Next time we'll probably just pack one with us and then either just leave it over here or whatever, because that got a little bit, we just had to use the same towel for everything. And when we went on our whale excursion, that got very interesting because we just had a completely wet towel for the next couple days and it was raining. So if you haven't watched that video, make sure you watch that.
Yeah, it's intense.
But yeah, so we thought that was interesting. Obviously, we're at the Hilton now. They have towels. The Intercontinental, our Overwater Bungalow, they had extra towels. But most of our other places, we only had the 2 towels, the 2 regular shower towels. So just something to know when you're visiting.
Yeah. And number 10, the last and final one, we recommend trying to learn a little bit of French. When you're on Tahiti or you're staying at a Hilton or something along those lines, everybody speaks some English. But when you go to the smaller places like Huahine or whatnot, like on Huahine, barely anybody spoke any English, which was totally fine. We're still able to get around and figure some stuff out, but not knowing much French at all besides bonjour and merci, but it was tough to try to chat with people and get by. So
yeah, we just wish that we would have known a little bit more to like to try to make the effort at least. And so we obviously know please and thank you and a few little basic words, but we like to try to like at least act like we can speak a little bit. And on Huahine especially, like we were the only Americans on our boat tour around. So luckily there was an awesome guy, Jerry, who translated for us, and he did great. But you have to kind of, it can be a little bit uncomfortable when you don't know the language, and so we just wish that we would have learned a little bit more before we visited. And then it's also a little bit tricky because there's also like Tahitian and French. So there's both languages, and usually Tahitians and French speak both here, but you also don't know. We would say Yorana, which is hello in Tahitian, and then they would say bonjour, and so it's like you don't know which one to kind of use. You can get away without knowing any French, obviously, but if you are going to some of the islands, it's obviously better just to kind of learn a couple keywords and
just learn the basics. We were able to get by no problem, and there are people that on the islands that do speak. You're going to run into them, but it's harder to find them. And but Bora Bora, because it's more of a destination that Americans will go to as opposed to Huahine, there are more people that do speak English there. So but we're talking about kind of the smaller islands that it'll be tough for you.
Yeah, and obviously we should have probably known that because it is French Polynesia.
Yeah.
That's our fault for not like trying to learn a little bit, but next time we'll learn.
Yeah.
So that's it. Those are the 10 things that we wish we knew before visiting French Polynesia. We hope you found this helpful. Make sure you check out our swimming with whales video. It's down below. And our overwater bungalow video, which was amazing on Bora Bora. So that'll be right here. But yeah.
Yeah, and like, comment, subscribe. We got more videos to come out on the French Polynesia, and then just all of our travels. So if you like our stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and go to our blog too, FitToTravel.com.
See you in the next one.
Peace.